Welcome to another episode of Global Green Action Project, a place where we get to meet amazing heroes doing great changes in the world to make it a more compassionate, kinder place through humanitarian, animal, and environmental initiatives. I'm your host, Jennifer. Today's conversation is a continuation of one we started in a previous video, where we have great strategies to empower children and youth to help heal themselves and others in the world. With our conversation today, however, we're going to emphasize additional strategies that educators, mentors, and parents can use to further support children and youth through wonderful lesson plan ideas, but also to empower youth with some great ideas in case they wish to follow a similar path to our guest speaker today through dramatic arts and acting as a career choice. Having said that, it's now time to introduce you to the incredible Brenda Adelman. I love the way you help youth and empower them, coming from a perspective of mentorship or an educator or a parent or a facilitator of helping support youth and children. What recommendations would you give to us in terms of helping children and youth and support them along building that self-esteem and that confidence so that they feel free to share their light with the world and share their authenticity and their stories?
I think a lot of that has to do with that mindfulness, right? Giving kids and youth the space to be silent, not go from one thing to the next thing and have to accomplish, just cultivating their intuition so that they can listen to their higher self, know the difference between their higher self talking to them and the ego, which often masquerades as the higher self, knowing that the higher self is just listening and loving. It's not coaching and judging. It's saying things like, I love you, you're so precious, oh my gosh, you're so resilient. Whereas the ego might come in and, well, what are you going to do about that? That's not the higher self, so just cultivating that.
Lovely. And in terms of having the acting expertise, is there a fun activity that could help us if we wanted to sort of, as an educator, mentor, parent, and so on, could we experience some kind of activity that could help foster this with children and youth? Is there any quick
I mean, I
idea?
think, yeah, I think improvisation is always amazing. I used to be in an improv group. It's like jumping into characters is always fun, like, or even jumping into emotion. Like, okay, if you were anger, how would you walk around the room? Well, you might walk like that, or if you were happiness, how would you walk and how would you talk? You know what I'm saying? And then have different characters interact with each other and stuff. That could be super fun.
Oh, super. I love the idea of bringing in the play, right? The play and the joy in the experience. So it doesn't always have to be heavy. And
No.
that helps disarm a lot of the
I have so
tension.
much I have so much comedy in my show. Oh my God. People don't think so. They're almost like afraid to laugh sometimes. Once you can laugh at things, you've got quite a bit of healing that's happening.
Laughter is medicine, isn't it? For sure. Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering also in terms of youth who would like to follow a similar path to yours in terms of an acting career, because you don't just do acting. You also, as you mentioned, you produced and directed your own one-woman show, and you've been all over the world doing this.
didn't
Like,
yeah, I didn't really produce my own show and I don't advise it. I have other people produce my show just not putting money down, but I do produce other people's work. I've co-produced, meaning I've split the door and things like that, or I've been hired in. But you could, I think be really fun for like a group of kids or a youth if they're together to like co-produce an evening together. They all kind of put in some money so it doesn't cost anyone too much. They sell tickets and they, just do a monologue about their life, 5-10 minute monologue. Like that could be amazing. I love the one person show because you don't have to depend on anyone else. And then there are theater festivals all over the world that are very low budget to get into and they provide the theater. I mean, now it's, COVID times, but some of them are opening up to in-person events too, but some are filmed. So, you can film something and submit it. So, I just love the one person show because with acting, even partly when I lived in LA too, it was like, I don't like waiting for other people to cast me. Like with a one person show based on your life story, you can use your strengths. Like Trust me when I say nobody wants to hear me sing. Don't sing in my show, but I do recite Shakespeare when the emotions are too much because I know Shakespeare, right? So nobody else can do that like me. I got to perform that in London. It was so amazing. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, I mean, that's a really great vehicle. And not many people finish and do it really great. And so it really has you stand out. And that show has led me to be a keynote speaker because like I teach about getting the message down. Because of the messaging, I've been a keynote at domestic violence coalitions, child advocacy centers, all over. So, it's very like malleable. You create a full-length show and then you could take pieces out and, for the youth, they could just do 5-minute scene and their 10-minute scene. And then before they know it, they could have a full-length piece that they put into a festival.
Goodness, how exciting that would be. How fun.
Yeah, I would love to produce those events in the future. Yeah. But about like not producing stuff is that I know a lot of people that come to me and they're like, I know someone who came to me, she didn't hire me, who said, okay, I have an opportunity to be in this big theater around Christmas time, month of December. And they told me they'll match my, budget for PR. So if I put $2,500 in, they'll put $2,500 in. And I do have to rent the theater for like, $10,000, but there's 200 seats times all these days. And she lost her shirt. I advised against it because even though there's 200 seats, it doesn't mean you're going to get 200 people in there. And then there were all these fees and it turned out to be Christmas. People were going to other shows. So, if she would have co-produced it with the theater, then the theater would have been advertising. So, that's what I mean by like, it's tough to produce your own piece to know what to do and stuff like that. But I like the idea of people pooling their resources and doing that.
I think some great strategies there. I can just see some creative minds out there already planning ahead as they watch this, which is great.
Good. Good. Good.
I wondered also about youth in terms of following through with just an acting career in general too, because it's not an easy path being an actress or an actor. You have many challenges to overcome. You really hone in on that resiliency piece because you have to do so many interviews and be okay with rejection. Any tips on just somebody getting through that rejection piece if they choose a path similar to that?
Yeah, what I'll say is that just like anything you choose, you have to be so passionate about it beyond fame, beyond I want to be heard and seen. It has to be, why are you doing this? Because otherwise, like it's like with people writing books, they stop writing when things get hard, or people stop everything when it gets too hard if they're not really passionate about it. I know people, because I know someone who was a ghostwriter, and as soon as they realized it wasn't fantastic, they didn't want to put the work in, and then they didn't have the book. Because as beginners think they're better than they are, and professionals, we feel like, oh my God, there's so much to learn. And so it's like, no, you're a beginner, no, you have to start somewhere, and then just make sure you're passionate about it, because otherwise, if you don't have that big why, you're not going to continue, because there is a lot of rejection. But I feel like that rejection, like going on audition, all those auditions I've gone on and stuff like that, has given me a tougher skin, because I learned that if I do my best, if I am skilled, if I have got the coaches, I've got the mentors, I've been in classes, and I show up as my best self, and I don't get booked in something, then it probably has nothing to do with me. I wasn't the type that, I reminded the casting director of their ex-wife, like, you have no idea why you're not cast, but you have to be your best. It's your goal, like your job, to be the best at what you do. And if you just want to act because you must express yourself, that's a great thing to do. And just don't be attached to the results. Like, maybe the journey really is the destination. Like, yes, maybe you'll be big, and maybe you'll get a show, and maybe you'll do movies, or maybe you won't, but don't have any of that affect your self-esteem, whether it's good or bad. One thing I learned early on is you don't want the great review to affect your self-esteem, because then if someone says something that affects your self-esteem, and none of that is, it's all about you loving yourself and doing the best you can. A lot of people want to do things and then they don't take massive action, and you'll get results.
Oh, powerful. And again, that ties into a resilient and happy life, and realizing that, well, essentially what you're talking about is a growth mindset, always willing to learn and improve, and not to take things personal. because life is full of challenges, ups and downs. And when you don't put attachment on things, that's when the miracles happen, because that's when you find the joy through the adventure as opposed to the expectations of outcome. Am I understanding you correctly? Because that's kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you want goals, but here's the thing. The good part of this is that if you take massive action, you will take more action than most people take, and you will have success. And then it's just a matter of really getting coaches, mindset work, whatever you need to keep on the momentum instead of like having a success and then falling back because of mindset, because of whatever. Usually it's mindset. Like, oh, you reach a certain level of success, and then, oh, what do you do with that? There's other challenges. Like, that's the time to get the help you need to keep going.
Awesome. So inspiring. Thank you for those strategies and tips of just living a resilient and happy life. It's fantastic. If you were to go back and visit your younger self, what age, number one, would you choose to go visit? And what advice would you give her?
God. I would choose my 15-year-old who was way off track. She was in a very like horrible household, felt like being invisible was safer than being out there, was trying to get away from what was happening in my household. So what I would say is to little Brenda would be, you are enough. You're so beautiful and things will change, and you don't have to do things because your peers are doing it. Just go within and learn to listen to yourself, because your intuition has always been right on.
Love it. Love it. Oh my goodness. As we come to a close on our wonderful conversation today, I would like to ask you one last question. Are there any further tips and strategies that you might wish to share with our community, with our youth, with our mentors, educators, entrepreneurs? And then, of course, at the end, I would also love to learn how we can reach you so that we can continue on this path of learning with you, because it's such a wonderful adventure.
Thank you. I really think it's what's coming forward for me. I'm just going to go with that line of energy, which is follow intuition. Clear anything away that is cluttering your mind and your heart. Partly you can, I mean, you can do that with forgiveness work, with really that Phoenix Rising program has so much in there about identifying all those limiting beliefs, bringing the unconscious to conscious awareness so that you can shine light on it, just like that, and different tools and techniques. So it's uncluttering yourself like you would unclutter a space, giving yourself some spaciousness and some time. When someone gives you advice, go within and check, how does that feel in your body? Do you feel expanded or do you feel contracted? Get to a place where you have enough spaciousness so that you can feel that, and then make your choices from a place of expansiveness, expansion, you know? And then, to reach me, I book all the time. That's Brenda Adelman. And Brenda Adelman at forgivenessandfreedom.com is my email, spelled out with an A-N-D. And my main website is forgivenessandfreedom.com, and it has everything I do on there. It's been around since the beginning of the internet, I think, but it has, the forgiveness work. It has storytelling for stage, healing through story, video presentation, and a lot of other things, a lot of media. I've done a lot of media. I've done probably 200 interviews, and everything's about, telling your story, forgiving yourself, forgiving someone else, and why you need that. I also have a lot of videos and stuff like that. Yes, and I just wanted to invite people to my Facebook group, my free Facebook group, Becoming Unforgettable. I have a lot of tips, tools in there. I just did a 30-day daily tip on presenting. I'll have a challenge coming up on telling your story for impact. And the URL is actually Becoming Unforgettable. So it's facebook.com/group/Becoming Unforgettable Club. So that's a real great place to also to have people reach out to me.
Fantastic. And you mentioned some free challenges. So definitely a good way for people to reach out to you, even if they were just beginning, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All levels and all ages.
Oh my goodness. It's been such a joy. such a gift to spend time with you today and hearing all these wonderful strategies that you shared with our global community. Thank you for being such a wonderful light in the world and helping heal our global family by empowering them to have a voice to share their story, because they matter. We all matter. And together in community, we can all make this world a better place. So, in gratitude, thank you so much, Brenda, for being here today.